What is going on, YouTube? Just got done watching Gladiator. I'm gonna give you guys that movie review tomorrow. It's the movie from 2000. I'm pretty sure I've watched it, but I just wanted to make sure, get a nice little rewatch in. It's been 22 years since that film came out, but we are here with the boys, obviously. I already did part one. I kind of went through like the prelude of the episode, kind of getting some main points in, kind of talking about what storylines are kind of developing in this show. I zone out, I've watched too many like TV shows, too many movies, things like Breaking Bad, things like Stranger Things, those legendary iconic shows have my best interest. Like I am watching those constantly. But yeah, we're just gonna get through the plot of this episode. As a result, the team's completely disbanded, and it's left with just Butcher and Huey to try and stop Homelander. Which even two soups against one Homelander is not going to do anything, because obviously they have the temporary V. They're pretty much soups now. They're going against what they traditionally believe in. Meanwhile, Homelander holds his first board meeting with the suck-up suits. They're succumbing to his will. Anyone who so much as tries to question his authority are kicked out. Even the girl, I forgot what her name was. She was one of the board members. She tried to go against him, and she made a fool out of herself pretty much. When really she didn't. She was rebelling against Homelander. There's every reason to do that, but yeah. These changes ripple all the way down the chain of command, with the Deep made the head of crime analytics. It's not really a good combination, but Homelander is in charge, so he makes the Deep the head of crime analytics. Annie shows up to see Huey blaming herself for Supersonic's death, which is spreading across the news. So, A-Train killed Supersonic, but they're posing it as a suicide, which is very dark, which is stuff. Like, seeing a show like this, it's like the media really hides a lot. Like, it really makes me realize how much the media hides, and someone killing themselves, it could be ruled suicide when they actually get murdered, like stuff like that can happen. It can actually happen. Huey also breaks the news that Moscow was a complete dead end, and mentioning the little details, including Soldier Boy and Temp Compound V. What she doesn't know, though, is Soldier Boy is roaming the streets and he is ready to wreak havoc. She's definitely disappointed in Huey. This whole time she's been mustering up the bravery to kind of bow down to Homelander, the reluctance to bow down to a very tyrannic Homelander, in hopes that Huey will just kill him and she won't have to worry about him. Annie is worried and shocked, telling Huey, who's still on a high following his Compound V gig, that she doesn't want to lose him. So he's kind of like on a hangover. Like Tim Compound V, believe it or not, has like this hangover effect, which is really interesting and something I never realized. So maybe the soups are kind of going through that as well in the show. That's very interesting. A-Train is finally granted his meeting with Blue Hawk, where they talk about their issues. Shit goes down in this episode with that storyline. It's definitely like a racial commentary thing. A-Train wants him to give a public apology, but it's clear that this whole shtick is not what he had in mind. Blue Hawk is not just going to bow down to A-Train and give out an apology. He doesn't think he's racist. He thinks he's doing rightful things. There's two sides of the coin, A-Train eventually brings Blue Hawk in with his cameras, but A-Train's brother is livid. He does agree to give him 5 minutes of airtime, but Blue Hawk's speech is disingenuous, and it makes him look like the better person, and it kind of makes Homelander or A-Train look like the bad guy. Eventually, he shows his real side as the livid public call him out as a racist, saying all lives matter, screw the Black Lives Matter, obviously a reference. So obviously, the show came out recently because of during COVID, how people were having the Black Lives Matter parades. Obviously, BLM has been a thing far past this time, but you know what I mean. It was really prevalent during the COVID when no one had jobs, everyone was inside, and they could only go out with masks on and stuff like that. Blue Hawk loses his temper and uses his powers on several people, including Nate, who's lying face down on the floor, A-Train's brother. So I don't know if he died or not. I don't remember. It seems like it's been a while since I've watched this episode, probably because I worked, and between the time I watched the episode and the time I'm giving you guys this review, plus I watched a movie because my dad insisted that we do it before he leaves. So Yeah, Blue Hawk doesn't go as far as saying the N word. I thought that was a boundary that the show was bound to break. I mean, they do some crazy shit, but um, when Blue Hawk finally leaves, A-Train is shocked, and even more so when he learns his brother is never going to walk again. So an even bigger rift is pushed out between A-Train and Blue Hawk. Maeve arrives to see Butcher, shocked about Soldier Boy still being alive and quite worried. However, she also shows with numerous vials of temp Compound V, so I guess she's been kind of the Compound V plug to Butcher this whole time. Despite them both being sober, they decide to drink together. So, Butcher surprisingly has been sober for a year. He knew he had to kick the habit because he had this very testosterone ridden. He would go on rampages after drinking, I suppose. I'm kind of assuming this. Knowing Butcher's character, he's an aggressive douchebag anyway. He's very high in testosterone. But yeah, the drinks definitely made it worse. And yeah, Maeve's been sober as well, but they break that. In doing so, Butcher admits that he wants every single soup to be killed, and then the pair have sex, which isn't all the way unorthodox. When we saw them drinking together and sitting on the couch next to each other, we kind of knew what was coming while we were watching this episode, but it's still kind of crazy to see Butcher having sex with Maeve. Nina shows up at the hospital where Kimiko is still recovering but alive. So Kimiko, we didn't it took a while this episode for them to tell us that Kimiko didn't die after all. She confronts Frenchie about the collateral damage they've caused and tells them they're going to have to repay that debt to her. So they're going to have to make it up to her. Kimiko awakens when Nina leaves and realizes that Soldier Boy's powers have done more than knock her down. They've effectively taken her powers away completely, so this isn't good. She was the one she was the one girl with the powers out of the boys, and now they take her powers away. And now Soldier Boy takes her powers away, not good. Is this how they're going to defeat Homelander? Well, Soldier Boy arrives in New York to find the place very different from when he left it, so he's kind of looking around. He looks like a homeless dude. He's kind of dazed and confused. He's still suffering PTSD from his time in Russia, and in fact, he blows up a city block. Just out of rage and out of PTSD and out of stress and anxiety, he blows up a block in New York. So yeah, obviously what MM was watching in the beginning, them torturing him, he's kind of glad he's out of that environment, but at the same time, he can't recover. With 19 people dead, MM sees the news report and immediately realizes this is Soldier Boy's doing, so he's kind of talking with his daughter, going to take her to the science fair, kind of have a bond because obviously him and his wife Monique are divorced and he has very limited time with his daughter. So he comes to see her, sees the news, and is like, look, I gotta go. Not a good look on his part. Huey and Butcher show up at the crime scene. Radiation is off the charts, the devastation is unreal, and MM showing up, seeing all this for himself, sees Butcher set up an uneasy alliance with his old partner to take out Soldier Boy, so now they got to bond together. Once that's dealt with, they can go their separate ways for good. So, for good. I don't know if that's true. They keep rebanding back together. Butcher even went out of his way to get him on the team when Huey dealt with Robin dying. MM has a lead in the form of a guy called The Legend. He used to be the VP of VOT before it all turned into tweets and reputation points. He's previously been in contact with Soldier Boy, but he's worried this is going to have repercussions. It turns out that The Legend is the guy who covered up what happened to MM's family. The guy also just so happens to have the Crimson Countess's address. So yeah, meanwhile, Homelander arrives to see Maeve, where he brings up her ties with Butcher and what they may be planning together. Specifically in how they've brought Soldier Boy to New York, and how Homelander is kind of irate about this. He's like, what did you do? So, Homelander questions what they had together in the past. Maeve admits that she hated him from the beginning and eventually ended up pitying him too. As they talk, it's not Homelander who strikes, it's Black Noir. He happens to be behind her and pounces. So Black Noir is kind of one of Homelander's henchmen. He's one of the couple guys in the 7 that's loyal to his cause. Elsewhere, Butcher brings MM to his car, where they once more talk about the morality of using temp Compound V. So it's kind of hypocritical, going against soups, yet using Compound V. MM refuses to take it, believing this is a recipe for disaster and that they need to draw the line somewhere. So Butcher's kind of trying to get him to take Compound V. He's like, no, man. You got it. As for Huey and Butcher, they're going to take this before heading off to see the Countess in case something bad happens. Over at VOD HQ, Starlight pleads with Ashley for help. You know Ashley ain't gonna do shit. She's very fucking ignorant. She's very business driven. She's a very annoying character. The official story is that Maeve is at a global wellness center in Malibu, but Annie wants the true story. She wants the truth to be told because this is a very scandalous company. She wants the truth for once. There's a moment here where Ashley almost speaks out, but given how terrified she is of Homelander, she eventually succumbs to that and refuses to speak out. She doesn't want to say anything. She wants to hide her the truth from Annie, and support Homelander in the process. The boys eventually show up at Crimson Countess's trailer, breaking the news to her that Soldier Boy is still alive. Her ex-boyfriend, I think. It turns out she knew about that all this time. She's worried and pleads with them to help, given Soldier Boy is going to kill everyone. He's on a rampage. He's on like a villain arc, a revenge story. Instead, they keep her as bait, ready for Soldier Boy to show up, because he has her address, of course. They used to be superhero buddies. Starlight soon arrives as a wild card, unhappy that she was in the dark about this plan, given that she's a superhero and she wants to help. Huey's determined to try and do his best and save Anna, but she's heartbroken, pointing out that she actually needed the old him, not this new teleporting version of him ever since he took the Compound V. She says he's kind of changed. The money changed him, I guess. Meanwhile, Butcher drugs MM and leaves him incapacitated, needing to talk with Soldier Boy personally. He doesn't want MM to get in the way of his plan, so he kind of gives him some drugs to knock him out. He offers up Crimson Countess as a gesture of good faith in exchange for teaming up and taking out Homelander. He wants Soldier Boy and Crimson on their side. Soldier Boy completely fries Countess and heads off with Butcher, with Huey tagging along too. So Crimson dies because of Soldier Boy. I forgot that she died. Oops. As for Annie, she pleads with him not to go, but for Huey, this is a culminating in everything he's been working up towards. Like, he can't let a girl get in his way. He leaves Annie and heads off with Soldier Boy as they prepare to fight Homelander. So that's kind of the cliffhanger. They're going to fight Homelanders. The next 3 episodes are going to be on this fight, pretty much. The boys return with another solid episode, one that sees Soldier Boy finally enter the fray and team up with Butcher and Huey to take out Homelander. That's a really big storyline that's going to set up for a crazy finale. There are some intriguing parallels between Homelander and Soldier Boy, especially the moments involving their lovers telling the monsters that they hate them. That's definitely a nice touch and something that the director did on purpose. So Soldier Boy and Homelander are like the... how do I say it? Like the Spider-Man and the Doc Ock of this series, really. But it's not what you would think. Soldier Boy's the hero, Homelander's the villain. It's kind of crazy. Likewise, the drama spills over to numerous other characters here, too, with Frenchie's situation involving the gang boss Nina, Kimiko no longer sporting powers, and the precarious situation inside Vought, helping to give this chapter more depth. Seeing Ashley almost open up to Starlight, only to be blinded by her own shock and horror, is a really powerful statement and a great testament to her acting prowess and Homelander's power. Speaking of which, Anthony Starr is by far the standout this season. He has really been the standout for the whole series, Greg Wheeler here. He's been good in the past, but playing this unhinged version of Homelander, teetering on the edge of insanity, is absolutely gripping to watch. If he doesn't get an award for this, I'll be shocked. That's what Greg Wheeler says. As we move into the business end of this season now, quite what will happen next is anyone's guess. So yeah, that is the video. I'm out. I gotta get into Breaking Bad, and then I gotta